All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. Before we start, it may look a little bit different up here this morning. I want to recognize our new Secretary of the Commission, Ms. Jennifer Jorgensen. We went through, as a commission, we went through a hiring process over the last few months. And Jennifer, with her background and her time spent with the commission, she was by far the best choice to lead in the role that she's in. So we're so glad to have you here and just welcome you into your new role, Jennifer. So Jennifer's been with the department for 20 years, and 13 of the past years have been side by side with Miss Pam Harlan, who's in the back of the room, who is now our, she took Jay Wunderlich's position on government relations. So with that, the new commission secretary, would you please call roll?
Chairman Boatright.
Here.
Commissioner Erdman.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Heckman.
Here.
Commissioner Slade.
Here.
Commissioner Baker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. As we move forward with our business today, I have a friendly reminder for all that we are live streaming our open meetings for the public to view from their home or office. If you are speaking, please make sure that you speak into the microphone and that the microphone is on so viewers may hear what is being said. For viewers watching online, we encourage you to subscribe to MoDOT's YouTube channel at MoDOT Video for access to these meetings and much more. We're going to start our meeting today with a brief safety emphasis. Brad Meyerhoff, Employee Development Manager in Safety and Emergency Management, is going to share with us what we need to do in case of an emergency today. So Brad, the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners and Director Hassinger. My name is Brad Meyerhoff. My role is the Employee Development Manager in Safety and Emergency Management here at MoDOT. I just have a few safety reminders this morning. In the event of a fire, the Commission Director and Commission Secretary will exit the rear of the room and out the back door in Conference Room 101 to the sidewalk on Jefferson Street. The audience will exit through the doors to the lobby out the back of the building entrance by the loading dock, and then we'll proceed to the sidewalk on Jefferson Street. An alternate exit is down the stairs and out through the main entrance. Please walk up the hill on Jefferson Street until everyone is safely out the back parking lot and a safe distance from the building and emergency response vehicles. In case there is a small fire, there is a fire extinguisher in the rear of the room by the AV podium in the back. I asked Omedo to retrieve it and use a fire extinguisher if needed. Thank you, Omedo. I appreciate that. In the event of severe weather, everyone should head to the center stairwell and go down as far as possible to the interior of the building. If we must evacuate the room, please take a moment to make note of who you're sitting next to and make sure that upon your arrival to the designated safe location, that your neighbor has arrived safely as well. As they say in Finding Nemo, find your exit buddy. If there is a medical emergency, most people in this room are certified in CPR. Emily, thank you. We'll call 911 and direct emergency responders to our location at 105 West Capitol Avenue. Becky has volunteered to administer CPR. Thank you, Becky. And Scott Kreutz will assist if necessary. There is an AED in the hallway on this floor across from 103 outside, and Lester Elder will retrieve the AED in event of a medical emergency. Thank you, Lester. Appreciate that. Now that we discussed how to keep safe during our meeting, we would like to provide an additional safety idea for you to take home with you. February is disaster preparedness month, so Missouri is susceptible to severe storms, tornadoes, flooding, and wildland fires are becoming more of a risk with our weather patterns. Research tells us that we will react to emergency more effectively if we spend a little time planning and practicing our plan. Plan for emergencies that are most likely to happen where you live. Be familiar with natural disaster risk in your community. Consider how you will respond to emergencies that can happen anywhere, such as home fires, floods, and tornadoes. Think about emergencies that may require your family to shelter in place, such as a winter storm, and emergencies that may require evacuation, such as a major earthquake. Choose two places to meet up, right outside your home in case of a sudden emergency, such as a fire, outside your neighborhood in case you cannot return home or are asked to evacuate. Choose an out-of-area emergency contact person. It may be easier to text or call long distance if phone lines are overloaded or out of service. Everyone should carry emergency contact information in writing and saved on their cell phones. And make sure places where your children spend time also have these contact numbers, like at school or at daycare. That concludes our safety minute. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
So next, I'd like to review a few procedural items. I want to remind everyone that we have a public comment period and are pleased to offer this to every Missourian that wants to come before the commission to address an issue of concern. Any of you that would like to address the commission, please sign up before 9:30 a.m. As a reminder, you will have 5 minutes for public comment and 10 minutes per subject. Next, I'll review our abstention process. There are commissioners that because of land ownership or business interest, or lawyers may represent clients that may either have some relationship to a matter coming before the commission and may have a potential or actual conflict of interest to be considered or voted upon. The commission member will indicate if he or she chooses to abstain from voting or recuse him or herself from participating in discussion of an agenda item. If an agenda item is divisible by contract, call, project, or like, the commissioner may specify the particular matter and still vote on the remainder of the agenda items. This information is provided to the commission secretary by letter in advance of each meeting. The commission secretary will duly indicate the abstentions or recusals accordingly in the minutes of the meeting. Madam Secretary, have the necessary letters been prepared? Thank you. So first item on the agenda is a business item, consideration of minutes for the regular meeting on January 8th, 2025, and the special meeting on January 7th, 2025, and January 15th, 2025. Actually, we are going to push that forward and consider those at the next meeting. I'm seeing that, so thank you. The next business item is consideration of items on the consent agenda. Does anyone need to remove or any item for discussion later on or abstain from any item?
I believe the director is going to take one of the consent items and make a presentation during the public session.
So
if you want to pull that off, yeah, I will kind of explain a little bit about that one.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's consent item number 3, which is consideration of disposal of excess property. We're going to go into a little detail on it later today.
Thank you.
So great. Any others? So the remaining items, item 1 and 2 on the consent agenda, do we have a motion and a second for approval?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Our next order of business is to review committee and board reports. I serve on the audit committee alongside with Commissioners Slay and Baker. Today, Commissioner Slay will give the report.
There is no report for this month. The next audit committee meeting will be on March 4th, 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. All commissioners are members of the legislative committee, and the commission's chair and vice chair serve as co-chairs of the legislative committee. Commissioner Erdman will provide today's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, we're fully underway with the 103rd General Assembly. Since my last report, the leadership positions have been filled and committee assignments completed. On January 28th, the governor presented his State of the State address. In that address, he focused on public safety, economic development, agriculture, and education. Included in his budget recommendations were $60 million to keep our commitment to low-volume rural roads. We're very pleased by that. This will reappropriate the general revenue funding needed to complete the $100 million of rural road projects from last year's budget. Committee hearings have just gotten underway, and to date, only a few transportation-related proposals have been heard. The Senate Transportation, Infrastructure, and Public Safety Committee have focused on public safety proposals that support the governor's priorities. The members of the commission, the director, and MoDOT staff have been busy at the Capitol making visits with legislators and building relationships with members of the General Assembly. We had coffee with a handful of them just a few moments ago, and of course, all of us were over in the Capitol yesterday. We all recognize the importance of the relationship between the commission and the General Assembly. As outlined in state statute, Director Hassinger will have the opportunity to appear before the Joint Committee on Transportation Oversight to present the annual report to its members on February 13th at 8 a.m. And very importantly, the newly formed Directors Advisory Council will meet later today and launch for its important work. This council consists of approximately 25 people representing 5 core partner areas, including federal and state and local elected officials, our regional planning partners, the construction industry, including contractors, engineering consultants and suppliers, workforce development and engineering and trades, state and local development and economic development and business leaders, partners representing system users, and including all modes of transportation. This new advisory council will look for ways to MoDOT to achieve continuous improvement focused in the following areas: safety in all operations and project management, outreach to and coordination with state leadership, elected officials, to make the STIP process as locally oriented and driven as possible, and with sensitivity and timeliness to local needs as they arise. To build even closer partnership between the department's critical private sector contractor community and regional planning partners, to recruit and retain the essential and valued MoDOT workforce, to increase focus on operational needs to keep MoDOT system maintained, usable, clean, and responsive to citizen-reported upkeep, and to use innovation and technology for the future to maximize efficiency and cost-effective delivery of programs and services. Focusing on these 6 areas will provide the director and the commission with valuable input from our most valued stakeholders. I look forward to reporting more on legislative activities in the month ahead, and congratulate the director for launching his advisory council. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Erdman. Commissioner Smith serves as president of the MTFC, and Commissioners Erdman and Baker are board members today. Commissioner Smith will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board met yesterday and approved 2 loans to the city of St. Charles for road and pedestrian improvements. One loan totaling $2,304,000 on First Capitol Drive, and the second loan totaling $3.2 million on North 2nd Street. So it's good to have some loans. It's been a while. I don't think we had but one last year, so we're kicking the year off right and look forward to getting more of them. So that concludes my report. Our next meeting is scheduled for May.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Smith. Commissioners Erdman, Hegeman, and I serve on the Emperor's Board today. Commissioner Erdman will provide the report.
And nothing to report at this meeting. The next board meeting of the Emperor's Board is scheduled for February 21, 2025, and we'll report at the March meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chair Erdman. Next item is I will give the report on the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety Executive Committee. As we shared last month, traffic fatalities in Missouri have decreased in 2024 for a second year in a row. As of Friday, January 31st, preliminary data indicates 954 people were killed in Missouri traffic crashes in 2024. This is a 4% decrease from 2023 and a 10% reduction from 2022. The state experienced notable improvements in motorcycle fatalities, which were down 22% in 2024. Unbelted fatalities were also down for a 4th year in a row, indicating more people in Missouri are buckling up. This is further supported by the annual seatbelt survey, which the seatbelt use in Missouri is 88.3% compared to 87% in 2023. So slowly creeping up on seatbelt usage. That's great. Unfortunately, pedestrian fatalities climbed significantly in 2024, with a record number of 149 pedestrians being killed in Missouri traffic crashes. To help combat this, the coalition has ramped up messaging and public awareness for pedestrian safety. In addition, the department is currently conducting a vulnerable road user assessment to identify trends, high-risk locations, and strategies for improving the safety of pedestrians. We look forward to the results of the assessment and working with partners throughout the state to make a positive difference. And this concludes my report. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is the MoDOT Director's Report. Director, the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, everybody in the audience. So I wanted to start with, if you looked at a previous agenda, we had a coalition from Ray County that was wanting to speak to you. And due to scheduling conflicts back home, they were in Jefferson City yesterday, but couldn't really make the commission meeting today. So I wanted to report to you that I had the opportunity to meet with the new presiding commissioner, who is Sheila Tracy. That may be a name that some of you recognize. She used to be the executive director of the Northland Chamber for many years and truly an advocate for transportation in that area. She is now the presiding commissioner, and her two counterparts, the other commissioners, spent about an hour with me just talking about what we could do to help them and what their needs were. And she just wanted me to convey to the commission, there was nothing going on that they had to leave, but they look forward to trying to get on our agenda when the commission goes on the road later this year and is over in the western part of the state. So we had a great conversation and talked about a lot of transportation issues. And the entire commission in Ray County is brand new. So they are trying to understand the MPO process and how we work. And but I think they're really engaged and want to be good partners. So I think that's a positive for the folks in Ray County. So I wanted to convey that to you. This morning, I have a really great news that we want to recognize one of our employees. Intermediate System Management Specialist Lillian Hinkson from our Highway Safety and Traffic Division has been named the State of Missouri Team Member of the Month for the month of January. So I'd like for Lillian to come step up here. And also, Robin Schrader is the one that nominated her, one of her coworkers. So if you would just come here and so everybody can see you and know who you are. But I wanted to share some of the details of the nomination for Lillian that Robin shared with the committee. So she was nominated for her work at MoDOT in the Child Passenger and Bicycle Pedestrian Safety Coordinator position that she holds, and the programs that she's developed. One of them is our Heads Up program, which is trying to help with what Commissioner Boatwright just talked about, the kind of the really alarming increase in pedestrian fatalities. We are seeing that across the state. So some of the work that Lillian is doing is trying to combat that increase. We have a media campaign that's a media campaign on pedestrian safety. Another effort is the new Smart Town program, which involves teaching children how to safely navigate roadways with a pop-up traffic garden that simulates a small town roadway. That program won a grant from the Governor's Highway Safety Association, and it allows us to give supplies to schools so that they can do this program, and helps with things like bikes and scooters and helmets and material needed to simulate those things so kids know what to do when they're out there in the real world. She also leads our occupant protection subcommittee and identifies counties that need intervention to help reduce unbelted car crashes. Kind of goes to what you were just talking about. She's the buckle up part of buckle up, phone down. So I wanted to quote here, Robin in her nomination said, Lillian is a fantastic team member who has always gone above and beyond to create positive change for safety for all Missourians. There's an incredible amount of dedication and passion for this field that can be seen in the impact that Lillian's work is making throughout Missouri. So thank you, Robin, for recognizing your coworker. And Lillian, congratulations on being named the January State Employee of the Month. So thanks for your hard work and dedication to what you're doing.
Director, while they're standing up uncomfortably, can we take a picture with them?
Well, that's what I was.
Okay.
That was what I was hoping you would want to do. So if we could do that, we'll let Emily tell us what we need to do and memorialize this for posterity, right? Right next to it. Yeah, there you go. I'm called
baseball too, so it's okay. You're not talking.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
You know, we all know that we have great people that do great work every day, but it's really nice when somebody else recognizes that. So that is really, really nice. As the vice chairman talked about, we are convening the Directors Advisory Council today for their first meeting as kind of a just get together, get to know each other, set out some of the future looking things that we're going to try to tackle. So I am really looking forward to that. I think the vice chairman kind of outlined that very, very well. So I'm not going to go into that much more, but I just wanted you to know that that's happening today and we're looking forward to that. Also this week, our I-70 design build contract from Warrenton to Wentzville started holding public meetings. So our first meeting was held Monday night in Warrenton. Our second meeting will be Thursday night in Wentzville. And at this meeting, the contractor, our design team, and the MoDOT team are going to be sharing kind of the really detailed things that we're going to be trying to accomplish there on that project related to interchange improvements, as well as the schedule for construction. And really importantly, what are going to be the impacts on the work zones that we put up and trying to help the public navigate those during construction. These are important conversations that we share with citizens and communities along I-70. And we expect construction to begin next month. So we are trying to schedule a groundbreaking before we actually start turning dirt, and people can go to the Improve I-70 projects page online at modot.org/improve I-70. I got an update from Eric Kopinski, our program director, last night in Warrenton. They had a record crowd. They had over like 160 people that showed up to that public meeting. And really the kind of the global, input that he gave was everybody was really positive about what was coming. A little apprehensive about how we're going to get it done and what it's going to do during construction. But I think that has been a need for so long that people really have a great appetite to let's get this done. And our team across the state is working at a fever pitch to get that done. So we have the first project under construction. Paving has already occurred. The second one will go to construction next month. And we will be bringing the third project to you, which is, the Blue Springs to Odessa project later this spring. So from ground zero to full speed ahead in a little over 18 months, we're going to have 3 major projects under construction on I-70, which is really, really phenomenal. So great work by everybody. And those teams are supported by our district teams. So great, just great work. And if you aren't doing anything on Thursday night, you can go to Wentzville and see what's going on. At last month's meeting, we shared the financial forecast with you all, and that is the beginning of our updating of our annual statewide transportation improvement program, the STIP. So our district offices have begun working with our regional planning partners, and the important part of that work kind of has a collaboration point where we have a meeting with all of our planning partners. So later this month, we're going to have the annual planning partner meeting. It's going to be on February 27th here in Jefferson City. All of our planning partners are invited. This provides an opportunity to bring all our partners together to share ideas, to discuss important updates regarding the STIP process. And it's more importantly, a great opportunity to build relationships in person. You know, there's a lot of turnover in organizations, and so it's good to get together every year. And, you know, our STIP process has been recognized as a national model. And it really is. The reason it's a national model is because of the regional collaboration that goes on when we develop that 5-year plan. That doesn't happen everywhere in the state or in the country. So we take that to be really pretty important. And we look forward to the planning partners meeting. I think one of the things we're going to be discussing is what is the impact of all the things that are going on at the federal level. You know, every day is a new day. And so we are trying to monitor that. And I wanted to let you know that our deputy director and chief engineer is in Washington, D.C. at the Washington briefing as we speak, meeting with our congressional delegation and trying to get the lay of the land at the federal level to see if there's anything that's going to impact us as we work on our next 5-year plan. So we're well into that, and we will look forward to bringing a new draft 5-year plan for your consideration in May.
Awesome.
So we're hard at work across the state getting that ready. Lastly, today, I wanted to recognize somebody else. A little bittersweet, but our district engineer in Kansas City, Chris Redline, has announced that he's going to retire at the end of the month. So Chris, could you come up here, please? I know he doesn't like this. I'm going to make him do this. But Chris has been with our department for 33 years. He was our district engineer in Northwest Missouri from 18 to 21, and then took on the challenge of coming down to Kansas City for our district engineer in Kansas City, and has been there ever since. You know, Chris has been a champion for employee safety. He's encouraged innovations in his district, and his district in conjunction with him have developed a lot of innovative things that we use now in the safety arena, from JAWS to our TMA flaggers, is pioneering our automated pothole patchers. So his leadership has been really key to us doing a lot of good things. He also has taken on the leadership role on trying to figure out how we're going to tackle the appearance of our roadways with litter and homeless communities, things that he is seen as probably a national leader on, and taken the step in that partnership. And you've heard about that at multiple meetings. I just want to say, from a personal standpoint, when Chris decided that he was willing to come to Kansas City and went through that interview process, it was clear that he was the right guy to restore some of the roar in Kansas City, and has done a fabulous job of changing the culture, and that will continue. So we want to definitely congratulate Chris on his career and thank him for all his hard work. So, and I want you to know he strategically announced his retirement so there wasn't enough time for you to give him a resolution. And I don't know if that's because he didn't want anything to hang on his wall, or he just didn't like the recognition. But could we once again do a picture on
One
that?
second. So I've got a couple things. Vice Chair Urban.
Well, let me echo, Chris, the gratitude of the commission for your work. Director pointed out, he's a national expert, but more importantly, he's a state treasurer. We are so lucky to have Chris for the time we've had him. When I joined the commission, I was a squeaky wheel barking about trash in Kansas City all the time. Chris had no resources to deal with it, no way to do it. I don't know. He may also be a magician. Somehow he managed to get the city cleaned up for the NFL draft. I'm not sure how that got done, but that was remarkable. And it's something to this day that the people of Kansas City are grateful for. And as the director just mentioned, he has truly transformed the Kansas City District Office into something that I am proud to be from Kansas City. Chris, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Chris. Let's grab a picture. Yes.
Here, can we do that? Sorry about that, Chris. Couldn't pass it up.
Yeah.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Well, thank you, Director. One thing that I want to add to Chris is, it's been 3 years, is that correct? That he's been in Kansas City?
8 years.
Right?
7 or 8 years?
No, 4, I think.
Is that almost 4?
Almost 4. It seems like a lot longer than that because he crammed a lot in a very short period of time and he wasted no time while he was in that role. So Chris, thank you again. Really proud of everything that you've accomplished in Kansas City and taking the lead on some things that were real problems that we had, certainly with litter and with the homelessness, and you took the bull by the horns and got it done. So thank you so much. Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ed, thank you again for a great update. Really appreciate it. Lillian, oh, she's left. But really appreciate
Get back to work.
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, we certainly appreciate that recognition that she had as well. And I too want to thank Chris for his service. Of course, we had the opportunity to have him up in Northwest Missouri when I was the senator, and he was always very respectful and responsive at that time. So I've had a chance to work with Chris a long time.
Yes, sir.
And really have appreciated that relationship and enjoyed he always would take my calls, and that was always a pleasure to be able to my children don't always take my calls, so it's really nice that
That's harsh.
somebody's responsive, so really appreciate that. So thank you Chris, thank you Director, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go into the MoDOT presentations. First item is consideration of bids for the transportation improvements. Ms. Danica Stovall Taylor will present those to us. So the
Yes.
floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you. Chairman Boatright, Commissioners, and Director Hessinger. For the January 17th, 2025 bid opening, MoDOT received 93 bids on 30 calls. Our recommendations is to award all calls to the lowest responsive bidder. That concludes our recommendations.
Any questions, comments for Danica? Seeing none. Or Director, do you have any?
Well, I would just point out that also in these bids, we have another one of our low-volume minor
Yes.
road projects. So we're continuing to do that, and the prices have been phenomenal. So we're able to do more miles, and we'll be bringing you the last batch, which we didn't think we were going to be able to do, but due to prices next month. So
That's great.
hugely successful.
Danica, do you want to touch on that at all? I mean, I think it was an additional 19 projects total.
We had 19, started off with 19 projects, and because of the savings, we added 10 more projects.
That's
So we had
wonderful.
one today of the first of those 10. So we have the remaining 9 will be let in March.
So just to give the folks in the audience an idea, so I think our bids this month were about $90, a little under $90 a ton on asphalt.
Mhm,
And
on
at
average.
the peak, we were in the 130s or so on asphalt. So we've seen those prices really come down. And the way that these have been structured, given more time for this low volume work, has really been, there's been a lot of excitement throughout the state, and it's been able to fill gaps with our contracting community, and it's worked out really well. I mean, for us to get 10 additional projects with this funding is phenomenal. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, it's also good to see the active bidding. You know,
Yes.
Some of these projects, we had 7 and 8 bidders on,
It's
so
wonderful.
that's great too. So with that, I'd make a motion that we approve the bids.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do you have a budget update?
I do. Today's awards are for a total of $123.3 million, which is $8.1 million over budget. That results in a state fiscal year 2025 award to date of $1.76 billion, which is a savings of 3.5% under budget on $1.82 billion worth of work.
Thank you, Danica.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. That's exciting. That was about, what was it? A little over $120 million worth of projects. So exciting. Next item is a non-action item. Kelly Niekamp, where's Miss Kelly? The floor is yours for an update on our enterprise risk management.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Commissioners, Director. This may not be as exciting as Danica's information, but I'll try. See if I can get my stuff together here. So today I'm presenting the 2024 Enterprise Risk Management, or ERM, report. And as we go through the 2024 results, I'd also like to give an overview of what enterprise risk management is, and then also a top level view of what MoDOT's processes are in relation to that. And I've also included the history of MoDOT's process as attachment 1 in your backup, so you have that. The Commission's ERM policy requires our department to have a system in place, and then for a report to be provided to the Commission at the beginning of each calendar year. This presentation actually marks the 13th completion of our annual cycle. So what is ERM? It can be simply defined as an organization's continuously evolving strategy for identifying our risks or our potential risks, assessing where we're at with those risks, and then putting our mitigating actions into place. MoDOT has identified 10 major risk categories for which we maintain a process inventory, and that current inventory can be found as attachment 4 in your backup. Carrying out those identified processes and making updates to our inventory as necessary is an ongoing responsibility of our process owners. And MoDOT's process owners are the senior management team, which is made up of our executive management, our district engineers, and our division leaders. But separate from those ongoing processes, each year Audits and Investigations initiates an active review of that process inventory to ensure that those processes are documented accurately and are up to date, but then also really to consider if any new processes need to be added, if any need to be removed, and then also to consider any gaps that may have arisen over the year. And then after reviewing that newly updated inventory, the next phase is for each of the SMT members, along with their management teams, to complete a risk assessment scoring sheet for those 10 major risk categories that have been identified. This slide, which is in your backup as attachment 2, provides a look at the current assessment scores, and each of the 10 risk categories are listed here. It's important to note that each of those risk categories should have been evaluated equally and separately from the other risk categories. And then each one is scored from 1 to 5 in 3 areas. First, we have preparedness, meaning if that risk occurs, are we unprepared or do we have tested plans in place? And then we have likelihood. Is there little chance of that risk occurring, or are we pretty certain that it will occur, or maybe it has? And then we look at impact, and that considers our level of preparedness and likelihood, meaning if that risk occurs, will there be little impact to our operations, or could there be a potentially devastating impact to our operations? And then the individual SMT scores are gathered together and included in this chart as the average totals. Here's the fun part. So each of those results is then placed on a heat map. And a heat map helps to visualize the areas that may require some additional monitoring or controls to be put in place for improvement. The heat map shows really our evaluation of our risk in terms of our exposure, meaning we're considering our likelihood and our impact as compared to our level of preparedness. To the right of this heat map, you can see a chart that shows where each of those risk categories was also evaluated to determine if the risk is being monitored or assessed in some way by one of our major tools, which includes the tracker and focus measures, our annual report or other major publications, and then also our planned internal audit procedures. The next slide shows a little more detail on how each of those risk categories is being assessed using those tools. You can see from a look at this that each of those risk categories is being monitored or assessed in some way by at least one of those tools. We'll go back to the heat map for a moment, and these are the 2024 results. So each of those risk categories, the totals is placed on that heat map. And it's good to note that the closer to the bottom of the map and to the right bottom corner means we have less risk exposure. But then the higher that category falls on that map and closer to the upper left-hand corner means that we have more exposure. Right. And so you can see that category R10, which is our workforce category, is the category that our SMT is still assessing as the one with the highest risk, as well as the one that we're least prepared for. So our last slide provides some data related to our employee turnover, and we've provided the information for fiscal year 24 and then 2025 to date. And that is there for our overall turnover for MoDOT, as well as our first year employee turnover. And then at the bottom, you can see that we've provided a 12-month view of the cost of that turnover for MoDOT, and that is for calendar year 2024. So as we talked about last year, the market and cost of living adjustments have made some positive impact along with other internal procedures that have been put into place. However, and we've talked about the historically significant construction program this morning already, as we go through that and then maintain those infrastructure assets once they're built, we'll need to continue focusing on our employee compensation and also our retention and recruitment challenges. So that's the end of the formal presentation. Are there any questions I can answer or anything I can go over maybe a little bit more?
Any questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yep. Vice Chair?
Yeah, this enterprise risk management is very common in the private sector. It's a very healthy exercise to identify known or potential risk and then seek to focus remediation to reduce risk. So I applaud you for the effort. It's very, very important. I'm not surprised to see that workforce retention and information technology are at the top. That you probably would find that at almost any company's risk management. Workforce, particularly for us. This is why we have to have the market adjustment plan. This is a mitigating tool to address the clear risk of workforce loss. And the public needs to understand that that's a very important initiative to retain our workers. Much cheaper and easier to keep the ones we have than to go out and recruit replacement workers. So that's good. I'm curious, what goes into defining political risk? I of course can see all kinds of political risk, but I'm curious for this purpose, what is included in defining political risk?
Well, actually, we have each of those risk categories defined in the inventory. Each of the risk categories have their own tab within that inventory. And so I can actually give you a definition of our political risk. And those risks include we've already discussed this morning too, our relationships among federal and state partners. But then also we have volatility of course, it's going to be here at the very end. Yeah. Of course, then we have volatility of changing rules and laws and regulations that we have to deal with. But the definition listed is risks such as congressional inaction, inability to pass our needed legislation due to polarization of viewpoints, loss of the commission form of government, loss of political support, and then lack of compelling vision for transportation. That's the formal definition that was given to our political risk category when the 10 risk categories have been put into place. But of course, as the SMT members and audits and investigations go through this process each year, there are other things that play into it, current situations that can play into that assessment as the members go through that. And then there is of the mitigating processes is then listed on that tab as well. And that will also give you some idea of the considerations and things that are given whenever that risk is being assessed.
Well, I think you've defined it the way I would define it, and it is a clear risk. Of the many, of the preserving the critically essential commission governance would be very high on my list. And we just spent a lot of time yesterday mitigating that risk. So appreciate your adding that to your inventory. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I would have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Kelly, thank you
Commissioner
to you and to all of those who contribute and monitor the plan. You say it may not be as exciting as the awarding of the bids, and maybe not, but I think anything that has 10 major categories, as you said, is worthy of time and effort. And I think maybe the avoidance of excitement is the objective here.
It is.
Right.
That's the goal.
There can be excitement, but at the same time, if there is a plan, if there is preparedness, awareness, mitigants in place, the edge comes off that excitement in a very positive way. So thank you for not being exciting.
You're welcome.
And thank you for having the plan, because it's not a one and done. This is something that is perpetual. The risks change and the mitigants change. So thank you for all of it. We appreciate the report as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. Kelly, thank you again. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Well, this is a short meeting today, so we're going to move into our public comment period. What's that? Am I missing
The
something?
consent agenda that I
Oh, yes. Consent agenda. Let's go ahead and.
So I just want to turn on. So I wanted to just highlight something here. So our consent agenda is for items that are routine, non-controversial. And I want to make sure everybody knows this item is routine and non-controversial. But I wanted to highlight it for you because last month we had a detailed presentation from Brenda Harris as it relates to how we deal with excess right-of-way, how we deal with access to the system, and how that supports economic development. And so this is just a really good example and a really pretty complicated example. But if you look at the excess right-of-way that we propose to you to convey for its fair market value, basically there's an existing outer road at 50 and 291 over in Kansas City, and a development wanted to kind of totally redo that quadrant of the interchange to better support a really large development. And their concept was, hey, we want to buy your outer road and then build a new access outer road that better supports the development that they want to do. And so the district worked really closely with the developer, our team that does excess right away, making sure that it's safe and the access meets our standards. And we have now a development that's going to go forward after you convey that right away to the developer. So if you just kind of look in the backup, you can see kind of the before and after and what that's going to look like. And I think that'll be a huge huge benefit to that region and is really just another example of how this department works really hard to foster the economic development part of our mission. So I just wanted to highlight that to you today before you approve that consent item.
Any further questions, comments?
Well, I just want to echo, last month, we did a real deep dive into the process by which the commission disposes of declared surplus property. And for me, it was a very educational. This month, we actually have a case where that's going to take place. And it illustrates in my mind the close partnership that we have with local communities, particularly local communities when they're involved in economic development. And there's no question that we work with local communities to facilitate development where it complies with the law and where it can be done without harming transportation priorities. And that's a good thing. Economic development is part of our mission. And so we do that when the opportunity presents itself. This is, in my mind, a good example of that. And I wanted to call it out today because it shows precisely what we're talking about. I think not a month goes by that we don't talk about something like this. So I'm glad we were able to call this out. I have no issue with it other than wanting to call attention to the fact that this is an example. This one happens to be in Lee Summit, where we are partnering with the locals to do a property exchange that will facilitate economic development. So with that, I'm going to move approval of the disposal of excess property at Route 50 in Jackson County, parcel numbers KC 274331, 274333, and 274334.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Director, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. All right, so let's try this again. We're going to move on to the public comment period of the meeting. Members of the public who did not schedule a presentation before the commission may speak to the commission on transportation-related issues by having signed in at the registration desk by 9:30 a.m. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic. Madam Secretary, do we have anybody signed up? Okay, our first public comment is Reverend Richard Cassidy. Sir, the floor is yours. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see everybody. Thank you, Commission, for listening and hearing. And as we voice our concerns, you spoke about consent agenda. I almost wanted to speak up and put my voice in. I've been on so many boards. I've been in your position many, many times. Church boards, school boards, you name it, ambulance boards. I know the pressure you're under, the responsibility you have, how serious you take this. So thank you for your dedication on being on this commission. That being said, I remember the most difficult school board that I attended was one night they were mad at the coach. You've never lived till you've been on a school board and a room full of like this is mad at the coach. It got very hot. And all we can do as a school board is listen, because that is our role. These were my people. As uncomfortable as it was, we listened. We didn't have a knee-jerk reaction. We just said, thank you for coming. We'll look into it. That's what I'm here about, a grassroots effort for the Buckland Junction. We've went through all the processes that have been asked of us through MoDOT. We've done everything from top to bottom. I even was considering that you asked me last time, have I talked with the Transportation Advisory Committee at the Green Hills Community Action Agency? So I called them up and said, do I need to be put on the agency again to make sure this is on the agenda? She called me back in a week or two and said, no, you've been moved. The project has been moved from a tier 2 unfunded project to a tier 1 funded project. Woo-hoo, I thought we were making progress. That was great news. Then yesterday we were getting ready to come down here and I thought, well, I better look and see what the progress is. So I was looking at the Northwest MoDOT website, road and bridge projects for 2025 to 2029. The Buckland Junction isn't on there. I'd ask someone, I said, do you think it'll take me 10 years to get this project through? Oh, no, it won't take that long. I've already been working on this for 4 years, and I only represent the tip of the spear. 700 people, as I gave you the petitions, almost 700 people signed a petition that they would do something for Buckland Junction. Buckland Junction, in my estimation, is the most dangerous eastbound intersection along old Highway 36. I take that very seriously. We were starting these meetings when one of the school bus drivers came up to me and he said, well, you know, the kids call that Suicide Hill. I said, Suicide Hill? What do you mean? He said, well, every day we go past Suicide Hill, come out of Buckland Junction, head south, try to turn east. The kids say, well, we survived another day on Suicide Hill. That gets people's attention. Much like that school board meeting, we had an old boy who stood up, was talking to us, a World War II veteran. You ever talk to these guys, they don't give you any, they cut right to the chase. And his phrase multiple times was, you'd have to be dumber than a box of rocks, blah, 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 and continue that sentence multiple times. 30 years later, I still remember his phrase, you'd have to be dumber than a box of rocks. And I feel like we've been deceived. We're not even on the list. We've had everything done that MoDOT has asked. We've taken the buses, took them west, did a U-turn. That's about 3 miles. You know how many superintendents want to add to their transportation budget? I can just see that it just grinds their gears. They're not happy with it, but we've done it. One of the other suggestions was that, well, you ask the Highway Patrol to monitor Buckland Junction. I did. I was over there asking for some crash reports on Buckland Junction. There's only been 3, 2 deaths on the west side, carelessness, and 1 on the eastbound side. Not a death, not reportable. So I asked the Highway Patrol, monitor Buckland Junction. That's been several months ago. You don't see them monitoring eastbound Buckland Junction because there's not enough sight distance. That was our complaint about Buckland Junction to start with. There's not enough sight distance. You pop over the hill, then you move into the deacceleration lane, let alone trying to accelerate from Buckland heading east. Our school bus drivers will tell you there's not, even our superintendent said, I was driving one day and I pulled out and there comes 2 semis over the hill behind you. We went 3 wide going east on a 2-lane road. That's not a fun experience. There's many cars that still use Buckland Junction. No matter how many times we've asked, what do we need to do to get this taken care of? It was engineered to do what it was meant to do, and it's not safe. Never will be safe. It will always be known as Suicide Hill. No matter how many things we do to accomplish what MoDOT asks of us, we ask you, do something for us, please. If someone has pissed you off, some former commissioner who walked out the door and was spewing hate to you, I would say, would you forgive us? I apologize for whatever someone in Lynn County has done to the MoDOT Commission. I apologize for whatever that slight was. But we are as grassroots as you can get. And we've done everything to accomplish what MoDOT has done, and we're still not on the list. Thank you for your attention. Have a great day.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hegeman?
Yeah, I do believe we would address that somewhat. We put some additional signage out there to try to slow people down, flashing lights. I mean, I travel that, you know, that's how I go east and west in North Missouri anymore. And so we've, at least for the time being, tried to do what we can right now until we can be able to do more major stuff. So I appreciate you recognizing that we're listening, we're looking at it, we're hearing. And so we'll see if it's moved up on the STIP. Maybe it just hasn't been rolled in yet. I don't know if they just did it last week. I would assume that it's not been. Okay. Yeah. So, but I mean, I think we're listening to it, and like I say, we do believe in the STIP process. So if the locals raise that up as an issue, I think we do take it very seriously. Time is something. Yeah, I mean, it takes time we don't move real fast. But yeah. Okay.
Just wanted to bring it to your awareness.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hegeman. Director?
So I appreciate you coming back and talking to us about that. So we did do the immediate stuff we could do with our maintenance forces. Already in our district up there, got that done in a couple of months probably. But we are in the middle of the STIP process, and I think the indication that I'm getting, and I don't want to take the authority of the commission because until they see the draft STIP, but I think Marty, in the regional process, if you could tell us where we're at with that, I think that would be helpful.
Yes, we actually have addressed it. That'll actually come out to the commission sometime, in the next few months. But we have proposed that in the 2028 regional project.
And that would be the full-blown J-turn solution at Buckland. That's going to be the solution that's going to solve that problem. Now, we can talk about that. I know you want something different.
For discussion.
Yeah.
Because with the site distance, exactly the reason Highway Patrol won't do that site distance.
So it is in consideration for the funded STIP in 2028. And that's fiscal year 28, which starts in 27 for us.
So a couple things. The grassroots that was mentioned, the grassroots effort, the way we're structured in the state of Missouri on projects as a whole is a grassroots effort. That regional planning organization that are spread out, and the metropolitan planning organization, Sarah Fields is here today, spread out throughout the state of Missouri, rack and stack projects and priorities in the regions. And that's not done by this commission. That's done at the local level to ensure that the folks on the ground understand the needs better than anybody that could sit up here do, and to make sure that those needs are being met. So that is a grassroots effort. On the topic of moving fast, the department, as far as contracts or as far as projects are concerned, moves faster than anybody in the country at doing that. The frustrating part is the reason why we're able to move fast on projects going through the STIP process is because once they get to that construction point, they have been vetted, they have been talked about in the community, there have been meetings, and they're wanted projects. That's why you see projects that once they get to that point, they get done rapidly. The tough part is getting them in there. And that's the challenge that you guys have had, is getting it into the STIP and understanding that process. It sounds like we're there. I appreciate you coming back and giving us an update, because that is super helpful to have that feedback and to have that feedback from you. And I believe we will get a draft in May. Correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned that earlier today. And then we typically approve that in July of each year. So 60 days after. So keep us posted. Thank you for coming today. Appreciate you guys making the trip. And we look forward to learning more on this topic. So with that, we will move on to, Vice Chair.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the response clearly. What I'm hearing is that when we review the STIP in June, it will include this Buckland interchange improvement as a funded program in the STIP. And so our approval of that is somewhat a formality, but I would expect to see that. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I mean, we're still working with the regional planning commissions, but I think we have a pretty solid,
Okay.
indication that priority is going to move up into the funded category.
Okay, good. I'm going to be looking for that.
Yep.
Yes.
Secondly, my understanding was when this first came to my attention that we were going to put safety flashers on the eastbound roadway to alert motorists, at least to provide some additional caution. Is my understanding correct that those flashers are in place and working and were put in shortly after I brought this to your attention?
That's correct. We had those put in. Marty, can you tell me when?
I think it was back in
October? Does that sound right? I think it was in October.
Well, I know it's not the whole solution, but we need to do what we can do as quickly as we can do it. And then the third thing I want to mention, I'm not aware of any issue with anybody from Lynn County. I have kind of spoke up quite vocally about addressing this problem. I I don't know of any commissioner who has any relationship to the contrary. So if you're wondering about that, I'm not aware of anything like that. If anything, we kind of pushed to get this addressed sooner rather than later.
Thank you again, sir. Really appreciate it. Next public comment is Mr. Arnie Dinoff. I'm sorry, golly, Dinoff. Arnie, I am terrible at pronouncing things sometimes. Arnie Dinoff, welcome,
Thank you.
and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, State Public Advocate. It was really good to see Chairman Boatwright and Commissioner Slay at the state capitol yesterday, talking to state legislatures, being involved in the legislative process. We're going through a major budget fiscal year for fiscal year 2026. As you know, the party is over at the federal government. There's going to be no more COVID money, no more free rides. The best thing we got out of this is an I-70 project worth billions of dollars. I believe over $7 billion, maybe a little bit more. That's going to be the best thing. I can't wait till it's completed and cut the ribbon. And I need to go back to my verbal request that I made to this commission on January 8th, for the commission meeting packet. You know, I keep humming in on this. Chapter 610.023 of the revised state statutes of Missouri is not being followed. Let me repeat that. Chapter 610.023 that is applicable to this commission and to the department is not being followed and being violated. Verbal requests are allowed. It happens all the time between myself and state agencies, the state legislature, the House of Representatives, the state Senate, the governor's office happens, and they all meet my requests. This commission does not. There's case law out there that is on my side and not your side. I also have a verbal request for right now on your consent agenda that I receive or you disclose to the public via the website, the special committee meeting minutes for January 7th, 2025 and January 15th for 2025. I also request verbally per chapter 610.023 of the revised state statutes of Missouri for today's commission meeting packet that you all received electronically for February 5th, 2025. I have been blatantly ignored by the former director, who now is in Washington, D.C., by the commission secretary, and by the general counsel of this state transportation commission. Why? For what purpose? I'm a Missouri resident. Missouri residents entrust in you and want transparency, accountability, and responsibility. I've been ignored, and I ask you as commissioners, why? 610.027 of the revised state statutes offers enforcement mechanisms. Civil fine up to $1,000. Purposeful violations, which in my opinion, this has now become a purposeful violation, up to $5,000 in fines. 610.030 offers myself injunctive relief is available to stop and rectify a violation of Chapter 610, including court costs and reimbursement of all attorney's fees. Today's harsh weather and driving to the Capitol, I take my hat off and I would like to say congratulations to MoDOT for a great deployment of this ICE anticipation. I'm very pleased with the response. I saw trucks at the Warren-Montgomery County line on I-70 in both directions, eastbound and westbound. Saw them in Callaway County and Cole County. I saw there's a ice warning in Sheridan, Cooper, Montauk, Audrain, and Boone counties. I saw a supervisor from MoDOT driving in a pickup truck, monitoring the situation on US 54. There were salt trucks salting the bridge deck of the Blunt Bridge. And so they did an outstanding job in this weather event that happened this morning. Hopefully the temperature goes from, on my vehicle, it said it was 31 degrees. Hopefully it will rise above 33 degrees to hopefully anticipate no accidents or tragedies. I understand after listening to the radio, there were a lot of cars that were off in the Mexico area north of I-70. And that brings up the bottleneck at the Blunt Bridge coming to the Capitol. We did some remediation. We did a project last year, but it still seems to be a big, huge bottleneck that's backing up all the way to the hillside in Callaway County. Customer Service Center. I'd like to see repairs and maintenance be a top priority of MoDOT this year. There needs to be retraining of the Transportation Management Center in Chesterfield. They need to be a proactive stance with crews that are out in the field that see things when they pass them by on a daily basis, that they can take proactive stance and rectify those situations. There should be time management for the repairs. There should be follow-up for this, for the person reporting this issue and problem. Some people that I find at the Transportation Management Center are great to work with, and some people just don't care. And it falls on deaf ears, and I don't think my report of my problem even gets through to the maintenance sheds. So it's insurance of quality. We need to have we have the finances and the budgets and the resources now because of the new funding from the fuel tax that's given to Missourians was passed by the legislator. All of our roads should look like US 54 between Kingdom City and Route 50. And that's the aim and goal of hopefully you as commissioners, me as a resident, and Missourians. That road is in great shape except for a few potholes, but it's in great shape. All of our roads look that way. And I hope you really take sorry, I lost my voice. I was sick 10 days ago. So I hope you can understand my frustration in trying to better the commission, better transparency. You are the last board and commission not to be transparent and put your meeting packets online like everybody else. You have the technology. Let's get on board. You hired a new secretary. It's a new start here. Let's get started off on the right track and the right path and do right by Missouri citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Let him know we were all at the Capitol.
What's that?
We were all at the Capitol.
Oh, yeah. So, number one, thank you for, I really personally appreciate how much attention that you pay, and it's not just to this commission, but statewide. And the time that you spend over at the Capitol, I truly, there's a lot of people with a lot of things going on, but how government functions is something that we all ought to pay attention to. So I really appreciate those comments. Yesterday you mentioned the previous ice storm to Commissioner Slay and I, and the job that was done statewide. And I would just echo that. Our last ice storm, we learned some things during it, but statewide, overall, really good job by the team. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Uh-huh.
Arnie, first of all, I want to appreciate your support of the Kansas City Chiefs and the three-peat coming up here. It's very prominent in the minds of many Missourians this weekend. So we are listening to you, Arnie, and we're moving in a direction, and hopefully we'll be able to do some of the things that you're asking for us to do in the near future. We've got some new council here too that providing us some new guidance and such like that. And so we're looking, we are taking you serious, and we are looking at ways of being more transparent than what we have been in the past.
Okay.
So I wanted you to be aware that discussion is going on, and hopefully we'll be able to move in that direction in the near future. So I appreciate you bringing it forth, and really happy to, like I say, we're listening.
The key is communication, and my requests have been ignored from last month, and it doesn't send the right message.
Sure. Well, thanks again. And you saw Commissioner Slay and I yesterday at the Capitol. All of us were over at the Capitol yesterday. Yeah. So thank you again. Appreciate you being here. With that, at the end of the meeting, we typically provide each commission member the opportunity to share any concerns or comments they may have. Today, I'm going to start with Commissioner Slay.
Yeah, first of all, it's great to see everybody here today. certainly appreciate all the work that the men and women of the department do day in and day out. When we get hit with a major storm like particularly snowstorm and ice storm that we've seen, it really brings out the best of this organization and the men and women that really make this the organization that I'm very, very proud to be part of. And I just want to thank a lot of people that are working on that are not here today, but certainly we understand the importance of the work they do and very, very much appreciate the MoDOT employees that really they step up when that's needed on an ongoing basis. So I want to thank the leadership, certainly. I want to thank everyone at MoDOT for all the great work they do.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. Commissioner Hageman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I too want to appreciate all the employees out there right now. We're getting a lot of ice and freezing rain up north, and so been telling all our friends to be careful as they head back up to the Great Northwest. I appreciate the commission coming to the Great Northwest Days and celebrating with our communities up there in Northwest Missouri and seeing what we got going on up there. A lot of great projects up there. Marty's doing a great job as our district engineer up there, and really appreciate that. And just really, this is the time of year we really appreciate the MoDOT employees.
No doubt.
Especially up north where we get more snow and get, some of this bad weather the last big the snowstorm. I mean, we had people stranded on I-29, and it was interesting. Some of them, just all sorts of different drivers that you kind of question as to why they were out in that kind of weather. But I've got some stories that I could share, but I best not. Yeah, maybe tell you later. But from the recent snow event. So, our MoDOT employees are out there just really trying to do their best and keep the roads open and take care of us and keep traffic flowing. And it's really a noble effort, and we don't give them nearly as much appreciation as we should. So thank you to all our MoDOT employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baker.
Yes, I would echo the comments already made and add one. There is so much that goes on at MoDOT. The highlights are at these meetings and highlights are in the media, but it's every day. So many people doing great things. I would note the seamless leadership transitions of the two at this table and thank each of them for their dedication in making those feel seamless and smooth, business as usual. That's very much appreciated. And it's evident in all the activities of MoDOT and the organization, people we see here and people we don't. It's just tremendously appreciated, and they make very difficult and challenging things sometimes look very easy when they're not.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm not going to go over everything they said. I just want to wish Chris good luck in his future and thank him for his hard work and his dedication and for always being responsive if I called you on anything, Chris. And I really appreciate that. And if I was a pain in your ass, I'm sorry. So I'll say that publicly. But anyway, I really am. But anyway, good luck, whatever your next life is. So, Director, good meeting. Jen, welcome. You did great. It's great to work with you. And wish Pam good luck in her new job across the street. She's got a tough one, but I know she can handle it. So appreciate everybody being here today. It's always good to see Sarah and my friend Brian there. So buckle up, phone down.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Erdman.
Yeah, well, let me echo gratitude again to Chris Redline. Chris, thanks for your many contributions. Good luck in your retirement. I hope not to be too far behind you. Appreciate all you've done. To me, the takeaway from this meeting and frankly from every meeting is the essential role the commission plays in community responsiveness. Part of the genius and benefit of a commission form of governance is we provide oversight to the department. And one of the roles of oversight is to listen to community concern and then be responsive. And I take that, I know my colleagues take that responsibility very seriously. That's why we provide for open public comment. And while we may not be able to do everything immediately, we are going to be sensitive to community responsiveness because it's part of our mission as commissioners. And as one example of that, I express my gratitude to the director again for forming his Directors Advisory Council. I would turn your attention to the fifth charge that the commission gave to this council, which is to increase the focus on operational needs to keep the MoDOT system maintained, usable, clean, safe, and responsive to citizen reported upkeep. That's a specific charge to this Directors Advisory Council. I think this demonstrates the commission's commitment to being responsive to community concerns. And I believe I speak for everyone when saying we all take that very seriously, and we appreciate the public input that we have received. Let me close on its Super Bowl time. And once again, we find ourselves 3 straight in the Super Bowl. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a three-peat. Certainly appreciate on behalf of everyone in Kansas City. We appreciate the statewide support and enthusiasm for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Awesome. Thank you, Vice Chair Erdman. Well, with this group, they don't leave much on the bone. What's that? Yes, he started. Yeah, this crew doesn't leave much on the bone. With the statewide, over the 4.5 years I've been on the commission, one of our big concerns has been having a statewide event, snow event during the wintertime. And fast forward to this year, we had one. And then we had another one right behind it. Learned a lot statewide. The team did great. We had some challenges in places, and and there's several reasons for that. We could go through them, but equipment is getting some age on it and something we need to address that would certainly help. But we take each one of these opportunities as a team to learn from, reflect on, and get better. I mean, this team continues over my 4.5 years. That this team has done nothing but charge forward and get better. Take the criticism, learn from it, move forward. And I just can't tell you how proud I am of the work that we're getting done statewide, the work that our folks, the boots on the ground, are getting done during these emergency type events. And it's just a really, really exciting time to be a part of transportation in the state of Missouri. So with that, our next meeting is scheduled for March 5th, 2025. We'll be meeting here again in Jefferson City. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Hey, hey.